Welcome. I'm Debbi Marcum with Retirement Solutions Group, and welcome to Retirement Your Way. And I'd love to welcome my lovely and gorgeous co host, Jaclyn. How are you doing today?
Oh, I am so good. I'm
Good.
so good, Debbie. Better than I have been lately. I feel like with this gorgeous sun, we've
Yes.
gotten some sunshine this weekend and we actually had pushing 90 degrees.
Wow. That's
So
unusual for you.
yes, and the difference that it makes on just my happiness,
Yeah.
I got to move somewhere warm.
Well, come here.
Come here.
Got an extra room for you.
Oh, don't, you might not want to offer that because I might overstay my welcome.
I don't extend an invitation unless I mean it.
Debbie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've just been slammed.
Yeah.
Work has been a little hectic, and I have another seminar tomorrow, so I'll be quite occupied for the next few weeks. So I've got a
Wow.
waiting list on it. So
Wow. That is super exciting and
it is.
great news. I mean,
Yes, it is.
yes, you're busy, but it's also fantastic news all around.
It is because I love what I do, so it's all good.
Yeah. Well, and do you think it, for seminars, I mean, do you think people are more likely to attend depending on the season?
Actually, for me, I'm pretty consistent with how many I
Okay.
have throughout the year. I think it's the topic. And
Mm,
so I think, there are a lot of people that are really doing a lot of research right now.
mm-hmm.
And, I get a lot of feedback from people that attend my seminars. And so they've said that, okay, you do a very good job of letting us know what you're going to talk about. So, and
Yes.
then hopefully the podcast is helping as well, because I think a few people are checking that out because they're seeing us on the podcast and saying, okay, they're talking about some things that really interest me. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I know that you've received a few questions from
yes,
people, but please, for our listeners and viewers, keep them coming.
yes, those are our
And
favorite.
yes, and as always, you can always find our past shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube.
Yes.
So, like Debbie and I like to say, to watch our beautiful faces, you should do it on YouTube.
Well,
Um,
I'll claim Jacqueline's beautiful face.
well, anyways, I mean, to each their
Yeah.
own. We'll let you
Yeah.
have that one.
Good.
But Debbie, I let's kind of dive into today's topic and share with our listeners what we will be talking about today.
Well, today it's going to be the joy of spending well.
Mm. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's dive deeper because I know your personal motto or your
Yes.
saying, I guess, is what?
I choose joy.
Yes. So
I
I
choose
think
joy.
this title today is so perfect for you.
Thank you.
And joy of spending well, so you can enjoy spending. I love
Eh,
the sounds of
Yes,
that.
you can. Well, I tell you, throughout the week, in not only visiting with my clients and talking with my clients and hearing their discussions, I also do research. And so I'm an educator, but I'm also a learner.
Mm-hmm.
So this weekend, I was listening to another podcast, and he was talking about the biggest regrets that people come up with in retirement. So part of it was an idea that he kind of spurred on. And he said, surprisingly, one of the biggest regrets that people have is that they don't spend in retirement. And I think
Mm.
sometimes that has to do with the age or how you were raised. For example, my mother she saved aluminum foil, but she grew
Yes.
up in the Great Depression. So I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes your lifestyle can dictate being afraid to spend in retirement. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Also, just not understanding your finances and understanding the actual cost of living. Some people don't really understand how much life costs them. So I think
Mm-hmm.
those fears can kind of, you know, perhaps keep you from spending in retirement.
Yeah.
And then there's the flip side. They overspend too early in retirement. So
Yes.
I think this is where a financial advisor is essential for you because they can help you with all of that and navigate that so that it's not as frightening and you don't stumble upon those little, obstacles that may come up or those fears that may occur.
Yes. Well, and Debbie, the number one thing that we hear from, retirees is the fear of running out of money.
Yes.
And that is a overwhelming fear and concern for your entire retirement.
Yes.
And it's how to navigate that between, it's kind of like a balance beam
Mhm.
between, spending too much, not spending enough. You really have to find a balance. And as much as I don't like the word, you got to find a budget.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And I work with, I mean, of clients of all ages. I mean, right now I'm working with um, sons and daughters of clients that have asked me to give them some assistance. And so I'm teaching them how to actually understand their finances and how to create that budget. So, for
Mhm.
example, I have two right now that for a month, their homework is to write everything down that they're spending. So we found them an app and they are logging in everything. One of them has already notified me that he had 5 subscriptions he did not know about. So by eliminating that, he's saving $150 a month that he did not know was going
Wow.
out because it was just automatically being charged to his
Mhm.
credit card. And he wasn't really investigating, okay, why is this credit card bill so much? I think partly because they wasn't all hitting at the same time every month. Uh,
Mhm.
but anyway, he's now saving $150 a month that he should not have been spending. And he said, I've wasted 2 years spending this money and I could have
Mhm.
been saving it. And I said, well, better late than never.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think
and
that's a big part of it.
yeah, and we've talked about on many of our previous podcasts about habit and consistency.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about, just automatic payments, it can be great, but it's
Mhm.
also something you need to check in on because that's a lot of money over a
Yes, it
significant
is.
period of time. And
You need
maybe
to
it's
be
just a hundred
informed about
bucks.
those.
Yeah, maybe it's just $100 here, or okay, I'm gonna go get a coffee every day.
Mhm.
Like it does start to add up. And
Oh,
so it's
more
the
than twice.
same way when you're saving too. So
Mhm.
if you're saving $5 a day, overall that's going to save you a lot.
Yes.
So it's really about the habit and the consistency between either spending that can kind of hurt you down the road or
Mhm.
saving, and ultimately you could be saving a lot more than you think.
I agree. I agree. Uh, it is spending and saving can
Mhm.
coexist.
Mhm.
They can both occur at the same time. It just needs to be done thoughtfully and intentionally.
Okay.
And once you get into that habit, and it does not take that long to develop that habit, first just getting organized. And a good financial advisor is very helpful in that. They can help you become organized and help you realize. So, what I'd like to do today is talk about something that a lot of financial advisors discuss and use, and it's simply the 3 buckets. Now,
Yes.
let's make use of those 3 buckets. Probably some of my over the years, I probably said 3 buckets more than I ever realized. But let's picture the 3 buckets. So
Okay.
the most important bucket is the essentials bucket. So that's
Mhm.
where you're going to have your fixed expenses and your essential spending, your housing, your utilities, your insurance, your groceries, your retirement contributions. Don't forget to add that one, because even in retirement, I think it's helpful to often add those if possible. And I'll give you some tips on how to do that as well. Second bucket, emergency fund. Now,
Mm.
I have heard some people say 3 months. To be honest, 6 months makes me a lot more comfortable. You need to have 6 months of reserve. So if you lose your job, if there is a health crisis, if there is, a sudden expense that you're not aware of, that was coming along, that you can survive. So have 6 months, at a minimum 3 months set
Mhm.
aside. That's your much emergency fund, and you don't touch that. That I often call your peace of mind bucket. I know I've got something back in, watching my back if I need it. And then the third is your discretionary. That is your splurge items. That is your treat bucket.
Mhm.
And you don't want to make a habit out of hitting that bucket. But I think you need one. You need to make
Mhm.
sure that every dollar has a purpose.
Mhm.
And too often we just spend it far too easily, especially with now all it takes is waving your credit card over it for like 1 second. And that's all it
Mhm.
takes for that money to be gone. It has increased automatic spending, you know, far more than I ever want to realize.
Yes.
Just not actually having to insert your credit card into that machine because I have seen people start to stick it in there and then kind of pull back of, do I really need this? But
Mhm.
because it happens so fast with that chip, they don't have that thought process. And so they're spending that way too easily because Apple Pay or that little chip just makes it
Mhm.
far too easy. So you need to go in with every, when you're going shopping or whether you're, stopping at a gas station, go in with the intention of every dollar has a purpose
Mhm.
and realize where that money is coming from and which bucket is it coming out of.
Yeah.
And if it is not planned, it's clearly, in all likelihood, not coming from your necessary number one bucket, the most
Yes.
important bucket,
Yes. Well, and
essentials.
Debbie, another thing that we've talked about on previous shows is the mental and the purpose behind retirement, right?
Yes.
And I think if we find a purpose that doesn't necessarily or I guess if we find a purpose, then we don't spend unnecessary money,
Yes.
right? And so you're not sitting on the couch wondering, what am I going to do with today? Okay,
Yeah.
well, what is that most likely going to end up with? Spent money.
Mhm.
And whether it's
Uh,
golfing or going to the spa or whatever, it's extra money that you didn't really account for because you're bored.
yes. Well, I have several friends who walk. And when I've
Mhm.
lived in larger cities, they would often go walk at the mall. It's a
Yeah.
great, typically safe place to walk. And I love the exercise aspect of it.
Mhm.
I have two friends that discovered it was costing them too much money to walk the mall
Yeah.
because then they were window shopping and stopping and
Ooh.
spending the money. So, at that point, you have to say, okay, is this really paying off for me? Health
Mhm.
wise, yes, but monetarily, this might be killing me. There might be a smarter way to do it.
Yes.
So I encourage them to, okay, find someone to walk with in your neighborhood or find a safe place to walk or join us if you're retiring. There's a senior center. Go join. There are plenty of free places where you can walk where it's not quite as easy to window shop and be tempted
Yes.
to go spend money.
Yes. I'm guilty of that. So,
Yeah.
I definitely do that. I don't
Well,
want to
think
share
about
that, but
grocery stores. I mean, you cannot check out. And if you have
do
a child, heaven forbid,
no, do
help
not
you because
ever
you
yes.
see everything, oh, those little last minute purchases, those kill you. And
Okay, I do have to say 2 things on that. 1, don't ever go grocery shopping hungry,
yes,
because you will walk out with random
far too
stuff.
much.
2 is I feel like I would be able to spend a lot less money if Costco did pickup orders.
Yes, I
Because
agree.
Costco is the worst.
It is. I have to have it. No, you don't.
Yeah, it's
That
on sale.
Mhm. Well, and I tell you, the grocery store having a list years ago, I learned that writing down a shopping list, I saved money automatically
Mhm,
because, I had a purpose, I had intention, and I was going from one item to the next.
mhm,
It didn't stop to linger at those things that were just, impulse buying.
yeah,
So, once again, it goes back to intentionality. So,
mhm,
having an intention and realizing where your money is going. And,
mhm,
even though I'm suggesting to the 20 and 30-year-olds, okay, let's come up with a budget so that you realize where every penny is going. I think it's equally important in retirement to also
mhm,
come up with a budget because
mhm,
suddenly you don't have that paycheck coming in. Well, hopefully you have a pension or something other than just social security coming in. You need to understand where that money is going and have a purpose
mhm.
for it. So your buckets may look very different in retirement than they are when you are still employed. So
Budget? Yes,
it's
but no.
not a cut.
Budget?
A
Yes, but
budget.
no.
I
Or how
like
about
that.
this one, Debbie?
Cut my budget? You can't cut my budget without written consent from the president of the Federal Reserve.
You cannot cut my budget. If you can't tell, I love that word. I have a love,
I like that too.
don't like relationship with the word budget, but
Yeah. It's a love hate relationship, in all honesty, for most people.
yes. And you're right though. I mean, having just an idea of how you are going to spend, an intention, a purpose behind it, and make sure that you get enjoyment out of it.
I
I
agree.
think a lot of the time we spend not necessarily with our own hearts and mind
Mhm.
connected to it, and
Yes.
we spend a lot on unnecessary things, or that you think will make you
You
happy
happy?
but really doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think, spending on stuff that you can see for maybe generations, or, just
Mhm.
having an intention and purpose for not just the now, but for later too.
I agree. I agree. That's one thing that I'm very pleased and proud of my grandchildren for this, because for their birthdays, we give them, the opportunity. Would you like a gift or would you like an
Oh,
experience? And so far, all three of them are choosing the experience. And
yes.
I love that because it truly does have a purpose, and it now
Mhm.
has a memory attached to it. So
Mhm.
I'm really proud of, and they're little,
Yep.
they're still little
Yes.
ones.
Well,
So
and
I love that.
that's why, I mean, I hear all the time. I don't have kids, but hopefully I will soon.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that you talk about where you have to go on family trips even when the kids are little and they don't
Mhm.
remember it, because it's a memory for all of you that will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And maybe it's money now, maybe Disney's crazy expensive. Like, choose a budget friendly place
Mhm.
and then make that same memory.
Yeah. Even if it's hiking, which,
Yes.
the gas, and that's pretty much it, or having a nice pair of shoes to wear. But yeah, I think that's important. I
Uh,
think that's very important. I love the experiences,
yeah.
which kind of leads me to my next point, because far too often, I think people in retirement say, okay, I'm going to hold off on spending, which is not necessarily a bad idea. Getting your feet wet and slowly kind of figuring out your budget in retirement is fine. But if you're putting it off years, that
Mhm.
may be a problem, because you may say, you know what, I'm going to wait to travel. Traveling at 65 versus traveling at 85 can be very different.
Mhm.
And I have quite a few friends that, as they are getting older, are not enjoying traveling. You know, their knees go out, they may have health complications, you know, going to Italy and walking upstairs, and steps
It
that they
complicates your
easily do
plans.
at 65,
Mhm.
definitely can complicate things. So, think about, especially travel. You know, if
Mhm.
you are planning on traveling in retirement, I encourage you not to wait until you are too old to enjoy it. And
Mhm.
that's primarily too old health wise to enjoy it. And sadly, if you want to do it as a couple, you know,
Mm.
we don't have an expiration date stamped on the bottom of our foot. And so, you know, I don't have very many regrets in life, but one of my regrets is that my late husband and I did not travel together very often, because we were waiting for him to retire. And he missed retirement by 6 months and did not get to travel. I mean, he ultimately
Mhm.
traveled to the best destination, but didn't get to go there with me, So
Yes.
I think enjoying it together when you're young enough to actually do it is important. Um,
Mhm.
and where you're going to live. So
Mhm.
that's also a big part of it. Go ahead and plan. Okay, what do you think my living expenses are going to be at 60 and 70 and 80? Because that can change, and that can definitely change. What goes in each bucket.
Yeah, great points, Debbie. And you're absolutely right. And all things that we have mentioned on previous shows as well. And, making sure that, again, going back to intention,
Yes.
purpose, can you explain to somebody why? Not that anybody will ask, but what if somebody does?
Hmm.
What if your financial advisor does? What are you going to respond with? And, I think even when you talk about places to live, let's find a place that's relatively within budget.
Hmm.
And maybe it's on a golf course that because you're a huge golfer, or maybe you have to make sacrifices, but I think it's so important to enjoy the money that you have worked so hard for
Yes.
so long. And it's possible with a
Yes, it is.
plan. It's possible to do it stress free without worrying about losing or running out of money, as long as you have a plan in place that will help you through it so you can feel guilt free.
I agree. I agree.
Well, anything else, Debbie?
I guess the last point is, even though in retirement, we very seldom get a raise. We very
Mhm.
seldom have unexpected monies come in.
Yeah.
Um, but there is a way where you can often use, unexpected money. And it's not that it's unexpected, it's just not, you don't see it routinely. And that's with required minimum distributions. And
Mhm.
so making the best use of that, I think, can play a real important role in this. And where are you withdrawing the money from?
Mhm.
And so your financial advisor comes in at that point and says, okay, if you want this amount of money to either go to a charity or to take a trip or to help you buy, whatever,
Mhm.
they will help you with, okay, this is going to be the best place for you to withdraw the money. Or
Mhm.
this is the best place to actually take this money and then, you know, let's use that as a way of making more money. You know,
Mhm.
uh, so I think you can continue to make money in your retirement if you're making the best use of required minimum distributions, and that has to start at 73. There's no way around that.
Yes.
We don't have a way around it. And I have clients tell me on a regular basis, I don't need this money. Why are they making me take this? And I said, oh, let's just do it smartly. What would you like this money to do for you? And so
Mhm.
we have that discussion, and then I talk about, okay, these are your options. I think this serves you best. Not only does
Mhm.
it give you what you want, but it helps you tax wise best. So
Mhm.
that's where a good financial advisor is going to really help you with that. And hopefully that money can go in bucket three, and
Yes.
or toward investments, so that all of the buckets become bigger at that point. So
Yeah. Well, and that brings up a good point, Debbie, about having a plan in place. So we talked about having a plan, and especially with RMDs, if they
mhm.
are not in your plan and you could be in crisis mode, right?
Yes.
I got to get these out. I got to get them out now. And
Mhm.
then your tax bracket and other implications. And so it's so important to have a plan that writes out all things with
Mhm.
RMDs and your spending and your budget and all of that, so then you're not in that crisis mode.
Or, heaven forbid, you forget to pay your RMD, and then
Yes.
you have those penalties on top of it. So, that's why I think another reason to have a financial advisor, and one that understands
Mhm.
retirement.
Yeah. Well, Debbie, before we go today, why don't you share with our listeners how they can get a hold of you?
The best way is to call my office at 866-247. Yep, 5695. Almost forgot it there for a second. And Andy will gladly set up a free consultation with you. And I'd love to meet with you. You can also check out my Facebook page, Retirement Solutions Group. They're building up my new website, so it will be new and improved soon. Or you can check Jaclyn and I out on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music. So
Yes, well, thank you, and I'll just remind our listeners that's 1-866-247-5695. And Debbie, that was a fantastic episode, and I love to hear that we can spend. You know me,
yes,
I love to spend, and it's great to hear some positives.
yes, it is.
So fantastic episode, and that does it for this episode of Retirement Your Way with our host, Debbi Marcum.